Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monte Belmonte. Later in the show, a preview of the Words, Ideas, and Thinkers Literary Festival, which begins next week at Shakespeare & Company in Lenox. We'll talk with the director of the Authors Guild, who put on the WIT Festival, Lynn Bolger.
And a new Franklin County spot to taste wine with our Wine Thunderdome. We'll taste at the only store in Leverett with a level 2 sommelier whose wine career was interrupted when their body stopped cooperating.
But it is Live Music Friday here in the Fabulous 413, and joining us is the group opening up Millpond Live in Easthampton this evening, San Salvador.
San Salvador is a musical collective from the village of San Salvador in France that sing in the Occitan language.
Occitan polyphony is the starting point for the six-voice and percussion collective rooted in the region's deep troubadour traditions and circulating between cultures and musical genres.
And they are playing tonight in Easthampton. Welcome to Live Music Friday on the Fabulous 413, San Salvador.
Quiero dar en tu deno, el camino somno, tomo que no se ve tú. Hablamos que no quiero dar en tu deno, el camino somno, tomo que no se ve tú. Hablamos que no quiero dar en tu deno, el camino somno, tomo que no se ve tú. Hablamos que no quiero dar en tu deno, el camino somno, tomo que no se ve tú. Hablamos que no quiero dar en tu deno, el camino somno, tomo que no se ve tú. Hablamos que no quiero dar en tu deno. No son los hombres que no se ven de nuevo. Hablamos que no quiero dar en tu deno. El que me lo sonó, no quiero se ve tú. Hablamos que no quiero dar en tu deno. El que me lo sonó, no quiero se ve tú. Vicena ma quiero, vicena ma quiero, vicena ma quiero, vicena ma, vicena ma quiero, vicena ma quiero, vicena ma quiero, vicena ma, vicena ma quiero, vicena ma quiero, vicena ma quiero, vicena ma. Hablamos que no lo un talento de nuevo, el camino hombre que no se ve tú. Hablamos que no lo un talento de nuevo, el camino hombre que no se ve tú. Vicena ma quiero, vicena ma quiero. de no, el camino son no, como que no se ve tú. Abremo quiero dar en tu de no, el camino son no, como que no se ve tú. Abremo quiero dar en tu de no, el camino son no, como que no se ve tú. Abremo quiero dar en tu de no, el camino son no, como que no se ve tú. Como que no se ve tú. Oh, del amor quiero dar en tu de no, el camino son quiero se ve tú. Del amor quiero dar en tu de no.
Gonna
San Salvador, who are playing at Millpond Live.
That was
open
massive!
It was the Enegada de Vida of Occitan folk music right there. That was incredible. It was a workout with just watching you sing through that. That was 6 voices and 2 drums and a tambourine, and it was like heavy metal.
I know.
And
it was
it
so
went
cool.
all over the place rhythmically. It was unbelievable. We're going to talk to the festival curator in just a little bit, but before we let this incredible band go, Occitan, also known as the Languedoc, is that where your village in San Salvador is from, or is?
Yeah, well, Occitan is spoken from all over south of France, a little bit north Italy, a little bit north of Spain, and our village, San Salvador, is situated at the north limit where Occitan is spoken.
We're drinking a French wine from Languedoc later in the show, so that's just perfect. Does
We got a thumbs up.
Yeah, does Oc mean yes?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because all my wine snob friends have been telling me this for years. It's the language of yes, which I think is just a beautiful kind of mentality, and we say yes to that incredible music that San Salvador has brought to us today.
And that you can catch this evening at Millpond Live, which we'll talk more about just after the break.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on NEPM.
Welcome back.
There you go, Khalees. You take it.
413. I'm Khalees Smith. That's Monte Belmonte. And we're talking with Ido Moore, festival curator of Millpond Live, which starts this evening in Easthampton. And first of all, this lineup is amazing. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, Khalees. That was, wow, I just could not believe that. That's going so amazing in the studio just now.
Right?
Yeah, it was incredible. And tonight's the first night. Tell us who else, besides the band we just heard, San Salvador, will be on stage tonight.
Yeah, so tonight we have, it's in the tradition of offering a really sort of global lineup on one of their Millpond nights. We have two other bands playing. One of them is from Ethiopia. It's another, like, 8-piece band featuring traditional meets modern contemporary styles of Ethiopian music with dancers and just kind of its own special ecstatic thing, very different from what you just heard. And after that, to close out the night, we have a 12-piece orchestra from Switzerland called Orchestra Tout Puissant Marcel Duchamp. That's like 2 drum kits, 2 marimbas, a string section, a horn section.
They're absolutely bonkers, and it is going to be an amazingly fun show.
Which is to say, we just heard the smallest group that is going to be on stage at Millpond this evening.
Yeah, and they sounded so big. Then Saturday, Ido Moore from Millpond, you've got some Valley legends in the Young at Heart Chorus who are performing. But who else will be there at Millpond Live on Saturday?
Right, so we have the Young at Heart Chorus, who I hope everyone has had a chance to see, and if not, you can do it tomorrow. And, you know, to be part of this ensemble, you have to be like at least 70 years old, and they're just amazing. They play all kinds of music that you know and love. And then we have John Cleary and the Absolute Monster Gentlemen coming from New Orleans. Thing is that.
You might have caught them at Green River. They're super fun.
And if you didn't, this is your opportunity.
Yes.
Don't miss them.
Yep, and then to close out the night, we have Luis Cato, best known for being the band leader of the Stephen Colbert's Late Show.
Yeah.
He's going to be on.
Used to be John Baptiste, so we never know where this guy could be going next as well. John Baptiste is having a dynamite career post-Colbert as well. So, and then Sunday, what's happening at Millpond Live for free by reservation or with donations at Millpond Park in Easthampton.
Yeah, so on Sunday we handed the curation over to really legendary Irish guitarist John Doyle to host Easthampton's Irish Fest, which is back after a few years of break. And he's bringing a host of artists connected to Solas, which is a really well-known Irish group that you probably know about. Lily Henry and Duncan Wickle, Mick McCauley will be there, Liz Knowles and Kieran O'Hare. So it's going to be amazing as well.
It's amazing, Ido, that you and Laudable and everybody that puts this on works so hard to try to get music from all over the globe into our backyard here in the 413, and being able to present it for donations and with reservations at millpond.live is pretty incredible. Tonight it begins the Millpond Live series with Orchestra Tout Puissant Marcel Duchamp, Ethiocolor, and the band who joined us earlier in the studio for Live Music Friday and knocked our socks off, San Salvador. Thank you to San Salvador, who's still in here with us, and to Ido Moore from Laudable for Millpond Live at millpond.live.
On the way, a new Franklin County spot to taste wine with our Wine Thunderdome. We'll taste at the only store in Leverett with a level 2 sommelier whose wine career was interrupted when their body stopped cooperating.
And up next, a preview of the Words, Ideas, and Thinkers Literary Festival, which begins next week at Shakespeare & Company in Lenox. We'll talk with the director of the Authors Guild, who put on the WIT Festival, Lynn Bolger.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on NEPM.
If brevity is the soul of wit, this will be the shortest festival in history. Well, it's only been around for this is its second year. The WIT Festival, Words, Ideas, and Thinkers, presented by the Authors Guild. It's happening in Lenox Thursday, September 21st through Saturday, September 23rd. And joining us from the Authors Guild Foundation is Lynn Bolger, who's the executive director. This is an incredible looking festival when you look at the lineup.
I know the authors who are coming to run workshops there's such good pedigree.
And one of whom is a former poet laureate who will be joining us on the Fabulous 413. But Lynn, first off, tell us, what is the Authors Guild, if people aren't familiar with it?
Oh, good morning, and thanks for having us. The Authors Guild is the oldest and largest professional organization for writers in the country. And we are an advocacy organization. We advocate for writers, protect copyright, fight piracy. We also educate America's authors so that we have a diverse and robust literary landscape.
The WIT Festival has been going on only twice. This is the second time, so now you can call it the second annual as opposed to the inaugural. It'll be at Shakespeare and Company in Lenox. And the theme this year is called Changing the Narrative. Tell us about the theme.
There's a sort of social bent to the WIT Festival, and we're really an ideas festival more than a literary festival. We like to take issues that are sort of at the forefront of what's happening in social spheres and political spheres. Last year, our theme was Reimagining America. This year, Changing the Narrative means that we're really trying to look at issues from various perspectives, some super personal, the way we look at our parents or ourselves, and others are more how we look at America's literary landscape, but also issues of crypto and big tech, AI. One of the most obvious Changing the Narrative sessions we have is with Michael Cunningham, who wrote The Hours, reimagining Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. And then The Hours was made into a movie with Meryl Streep and Julianne Moore and Nicole Kidman. And now Renee Fleming asked, hey, this would be a fantastic opera. And that was premiered last year at the Met. So that's really changing the narrative of this.
And Michael Cunningham
classic
will be there as part of the festival?
Yeah. He's one of the speakers, and interviewing him is the novelist Roxanne Robinson, who is a Woolf scholar.
This is only the second year of the festival. What's changed from last year, your inaugural year, to this year where you're already establishing a theme of changing the narrative?
Well, let me just say from a personal standpoint, as the organizer and the sort of founder, it's a lot easier this year. I mean, oh my God. You reinvent the wheel, but people in the Berkshires, other heads of nonprofits, to the bookstores, so helpful. We basically made this out of nothing. And as I was saying to you, Monte, I live in Maine. The Authors Guild headquarters is in New York. So I knew from nothing, Berkshires is where is that? What are the, so.
I heard about it in a James Taylor song, and that's it.
Yes. Those
except Mexico.
Berkshires, same dream. Yeah, totally easier because all of these people came to help in the first year, but we were just figuring out what it was going to be like. A lot of the programming, though, however, there is the same. It's free and open to the public. You do have to register, and I'm sorry to say or happy to say that the festival is so well received that 6 out of the 9 sessions are full with waiting lists, and that's great. There's 9 sessions this year. There were 7 last year, so we're trying to grow it. And we're also trying to bring in educational components. The Lenox High School is bringing 45 kids to one of the sessions.
Wow, that's great.
Cool.
Yeah. We're thrilled about that. AI in the Metaverse session with Jonathan Taplin. And then John is doing a talk back with the high school students alone underneath the tent down at Shake and Coat. Yeah, so a lot of the elements are the same. We're trying to continue to keep it free and accessible to everybody so that everybody can join the conversation, whether or not you have the means to do so. So many of these ideas festivals, the tickets are really expensive, but the Authors Guild really wants to keep it accessible so everybody can join the conversation.
And we're having a conversation with Lynn Bolger, who's the executive director of the Authors Guild Foundation. It is a huge foundation of authors, the largest and oldest, I believe, in the country, with over 1,300 participants. And the WIT Festival, Words, Ideas, and Thinkers, is happening at Shakespeare and Company in Lenox Thursday, September 21st through 23rd. It's free. 7 of the 9 or 6 of the 9 are
6 of the 9
are already booked. But what are some of the ones that people could still get involved with if they don't hesitate?
There are 3 on Friday that have space left in them, which makes sense because, of course, most of us work, right? We have to work for a living. But one is Parents on Paper with the fabulous Emma Straub, who has written a number of novels for adults, but also recently a children's book. Emma and her husband, Mikey, own Books Are Magic in Brooklyn, the bookstores. They just opened a second. And Maya Shanbag Lang, who wrote the memoir, What We Carry, about her mom and her relationship. Emma wrote This Time Tomorrow, which is a fictionalization of her relationship with her dad, who's now passed. The other 2 that are open are Rita Dove and Andre Bernard.
I can't believe that one still has space.
Yes.
I can't either. I was a creative writing major in college. I did an MFA. She was an icon to me. You know, she has won the Pulitzer. There's nothing this woman can't do. She's written screenplays, librettos. In fact, she has a song cycle that John Williams did last year or the year before. Anyway, you guys will talk to her soon.
Yes, we will.
I'm just sort of fangirling that I get to meet her. And then at 10:30 in the morning, Margaret Verbal, whose first novel was a finalist for the Pulitzer. It's Maud's Line. Margaret is a member of Cherokee Nation. All of her novels, I think she's on her 4th or 5th. The most recent one is Stealing, about Native American girl being taken and put into a Christian school and sort of robbed of her language and ways, traditional ways. Margaret is speaking with Oscar Hokea, who is the author of Calling for a Blanket Dance, also a member of Cherokee Nation, and they're buds, she told me. So that's going to be a great conversation, and that's titled Who Are NDNs, Indians Anyway, and Why Does It Matter? Those 3 still have space if you call before midnight tonight.
This is all part of the WIT Festival that the Authors Guild presents, Words, Ideas, and Thinkers. It's Thursday, September 21st through Saturday, September 23rd at Shakespeare and Company in Lenox, and we're talking to the executive director of the Authors Guild Foundation, Lynn Bolger. I know one of the things that the Authors Guild focuses on is protecting free speech and freedom of expression. And we are living in an age where we're having an unprecedented amount of censorship in regards to literature. What's your perspective, and thus, I guess, the Authors Guild's perspective, on what's been going on in libraries across the country?
Yes, speak for the whole organization.
Well, she is the executive director, so that's kind of your role.
Yes. Well, I am the executive director of the foundation, which is the sort of charitable and educational arm. And my boss and colleague, who's badass, if I can say that on the radio, Mary Rasenberger, is a copyright attorney. Let me just say that we're up to 8 attorneys on our staff and lobbyists. And we have spent the last 2 or 3 years now as this banned books movement has really picked up speed and moved from elementary school libraries into public libraries and whole states. We have spent untold hours writing amicus briefs, taking states to court, being part of a coalition. We have on our website a sort of toolkit for you to, write a letter to your legislature. Here's what to do if this happens in your school. Here are the organizations that are working with us to fight banned books. We had a year-long banned books book club on fable.co. It's kind of a crazy time right now in publishing to be a writer. Another big issue we're working on is AI, which is a massive copyright infringement because those large language models that have fueled ChatGPT were just scraped from pirated websites. So novelists' work were just put into the machine without their consent or compensation. It's a kind of a nutty time.
Weird to go back to this at this point in the conversation, but Lynn, how did you come to be involved in the guild?
I sort of came out of retirement to do it. My husband and I were planning to retire at the end of 2019, I think, 2020. Roxana Robinson, the author and novelist, said to me, come over here and be the executive director of this. I said, Roxana, look, I'm retiring. It's time for me to, put on a backpack and take my gap year finally. And she said, if you could just do this. I had been working for College of the Atlantic in Bar Harbor, Maine. And one of the things that I did there was run the Ideas Festival called the Summer Institute. So when I joined the Authors Guild, they're like, oh, hey, could you do an Ideas Festival for us too? And I'm like, well, sure, but where would you put it? New York City. New York City does not need another Ideas Festival. They have the 92nd Street Y. They have the Penn World Voices. They have the New Yorker Festival, et cetera. So we happily landed in your neighborhood and have not looked back. It is a wonderful place. But it's such an interesting thing. Everybody wants to focus on a different issue. Like, could we do one about the environment next year? I mean, that's one of the amazing things that people will say, like, how do you choose the topic? How broad does it have to be? So we think about that, and we're really excited about the opportunity to work maybe with Simon's Rock and other sort of colleges, Mass College of the Liberal Arts, right? Or some other schools to embed these educational components within the local schools to get younger people and, just a broader scope of people to come and be part and to hear their voice.
Cool. It's the second annual WIT Festival, and we'll see what the third annual has in store next year. Currently happening at Shakespeare & Company, September 21st through 23rd, presented by the Authors Guild. Lynn Bolger is the executive director of the Authors Guild Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you both, and look forward to having our sessions on your show.
Oh, yeah. Coming up, a new Franklin County spot to taste wine with in our Wine Thunderdome. We'll taste at the only store in Leverett with the level 2 sommelier whose wine career was interrupted when their body stopped cooperating.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on NEPM. This may be one of the more idyllic places where we've entered the Wine Thunderdome, Khalees, because we are at the Leverett Village Co-op. It is a general store in Leverett, right on the border with Shutesbury, right near Lake Wyola, with one of the good old times.
That's like 4 fawns, and I had to take a task from the Snow Queen to get here.
If it's a war Aslan wants, it's a war he shall get.
Well, you've entered Narnia, where they have one of those old-timey, what do they call those? Merry-go-rounds?
They're merry-go-rounds.
But not the kind like you see with horses on it.
That's
the ones
a
where
carousel.
No, that's a carousel.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
the difference. Okay, cool.
This is the DIY.
Yeah, you get head injuries on this one.
That's what I love about it. Bring your kids here like the olden days and give them a head injury on some playground equipment. But we're here to drink wine with my friend Ken Washburn, who lives in my town of Turners Falls.
That's right.
And who has an amazing story in regards to their career in wine and buys incredible wines for this tiny little general store that's like a coffee shop and chips and deli to go and cigarettes and then incredible wines. I don't want to say it's in the middle of nowhere, because if you live in Leverett, it's the middle of everywhere. But anytime I come here, I feel like I'm on vacation. Ken, tell us the story about how your mom pressured you into being a wine snob.
I had just dropped out of college. I was 20 years old, and I am breaking this cork right now.
We'll let you get that out.
So I had just dropped out of school. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life whatsoever. And I was at a brewery with my mom.
In where, Berkeley?
Berkeley, California, right downtown near the university. I was sitting by this window, and I was probably drinking an IPA or something like that. And she just looks at me, and she's like, what are you going to do with your life? And I was like, well, I don't love that question. And she was like, I think you should go to wine school. And I mean, I was really taken aback. I'd never really thought about wine in my life. And I'm not from a drinking family at all. So I asked her where she came up with that. She said, well, you like knowing a lot about something. She's like, you like to have niche interests and skill sets. And she's like, and also you're like strangely good at interacting with rich people. And I was like, well, yeah, I guess you're right. And, you're 20, you're like living with your parents. Such a like classic millennial story of like, I don't know what's happening with my life. And so I was feeling very both vulnerable and receptive. to something new. I ended up enrolling in a school that no longer exists, unfortunately. It was one of the culinary schools that kind of got absorbed into others during the pandemic, but it was the French Culinary Institute, which is sad because I always wanted like a hoodie or something, and I looked for merch.
Now you're wearing a sweatshirt that just says sausage on it.
You know, this is I think it's a woman-owned sausage brand called Seymour, and this was a targeted ad on Instagram.
It's better than a French Culinary Institute hoodie, I'll just go out and say. But you were instructed by 3 master sommeliers who are essentially the ninjas of the wine world.
Naruto Uzumaki.
One of them was, I mean, he must have been in his early, maybe mid-30s max at the time, and this was over 10 years ago, and he had just recently come off of being the sommelier for the French Laundry. So that was kind of the vibe. And this was through the Court of Master Sommeliers, and that focuses more on like restaurant service, which is funny because I did not do any of that whatsoever. I went straight into retail. So,
but you're a level 2 sommelier in the Court of Master Sommeliers. I bet if you gave us the test for level 1, Khalees and I could pass it pretty much right now.
That would be a fun thing to do for your show.
I think so.
But you'll pass.
But level 2,
I'll struggle.
like 90% or something like that of the people that can pass level 1 don't pass level 2. So you're like a brown belt in wine.
It was probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
Well, let's pour the first wine and we'll tell more of your story, because your interesting rise to level 2 sommelier gets interrupted in a way that I think is incredible and makes it very brave that you're here drinking with us today.
So brave. This is such a difficult thing to be doing.
So we're at the Leverett Co-op with the wine buyer and level 2 sommelier Ken Washburn. 2 wines enter, 1 wine leaves.
2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
What's the first one you want to pour for us, Ken?
I think today we're going to do the Tacheron Pinot Noir. Just 100% Pinot Noir, but instead of being from Burgundy or somewhere else in France, because it is French, it is from the Languedoc. Not your classic Pinot Noir spot, and that's part of why I chose it today, and we'll find out more about the other wine later, so let's do this one.
All right. Languedoc is currently a place that is still French, but much more affordable than places like Burgundy and Bordeaux. This Pinot Noir looks, as they say, varietally correct, meaning that you can see through the red wine itself. Like if you were to have a watch, you would be able to hold it up to your, you just poured it all over your white notebook.
I was trying to prove your point by trying to read my notes through the wine, but
you literally dumped wine on it, and yet
I'm a professional.
You can still see the notes. I'm getting.
It smells all cherry-y.
Cherry is number 1 for me. What I love about Pinot Noir is, for some reason, it manifests itself as bricks to me, like the smell of bricks.
So you've been smelling bricks before?
Yeah, I don't even know why I smell bricks, or I'll be like, it tastes like bricks.
One of your home improvement things?
Probably. And it's not as fruit forward as I thought it might be as a Pinot Noir from the Languedoc. It is much more reserved, very elegant.
All the wines that I end up really being crazy about are reserved or restrained or subtle. All those.
You want wine to punish you. It's not there to enjoy. If you become a wine snob, it's all about punishment. How much did these vines suffer in the climate where they were growing, when they had no water on a hillside? Ah, yes, it makes for great punishing wine to drink.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
That's fun.
I love that. Sour cherry. Really great acid. Definitely food pairing wine for sure.
I want sausage with it.
Kinda
You're wearing the
savory.
sausage sweatshirt. I think Pinot Noir, and especially lamb sausage, are like a match made in heaven.
I get like a little bit more of that brick thing right after the acid.
It's a dry earth thing. I just call it bricks because I think that's what bricks are made of.
That is what bricks are made.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, how do they make bricks again?
Is it Legos?
Everything is awesome.
Tacheron Pinot Noir is the wine 1. Where we last left your exciting wine story, Ken Washburn, level 2 sommelier, wine buyer, and now manager of the Leverett Village Co-op, kind of the only go-to store in the area for the people of Leverett.
It's
and
the
yet
only store in Leverett. All of Leverett.
But right across from this corner, there's a thing that says the mall.
That's actually where this store used to be.
Oh!
Yeah, so still the only store in Leverett. Yeah.
On Rattlesnake Road, Rattlesnake Gutter, but the store has shed its previous skin to be in a new building.
Yeah, I like that. I don't see any real rattlesnakes here, which is good. When you became a level 2 sommelier, you're working with rich people in Berkeley and selling them wine in California. You go back to your homeland in the Dallas area.
There was an interlude where I was a wine rep for about a month selling mediocre Pinot Noir in Portland, Oregon, which was a disaster. I think I lost $250 from the whole venture.
Oh my. What interrupted your wine career was your human body.
In the way of many stories.
Tell us what happened.
Well, a couple things happened in my mid-20s that were surprises. I became allergic to cats and I started getting migraines from drinking wine.
So you've dedicated your life and your studies to become a level 2 sommelier, brown belt of master somm levels, and then it's now painful for you to experience.
I remember the night that I really realized what happened is that I was in the Columbia River Gorge with another wine nerd, my friend Sam Vickland, who works in Los Angeles now, and just a special shout out. We were drinking Coteron out of a mug on the roof of my car looking at the stars.
Awesome.
It was, just one of those moments, and I was like, oh my god, I'm getting a migraine again. And I was like, oh, wine gives me migraines, like this is what it is, and I know a lot of stuff can happen in your mid-20s, your body's suddenly realizing that it's getting older and it starts to attack you in all kinds of ways. But I felt like it was some sort of cosmic punishment or something, that it was my career that was being immediately threatened and threatening to me. So it was rough. You don't want to go to a trade tasting with all your friends if you know you're going to be needing an injection at urgent care later. It was really serious at the time. So I kind of dropped it.
For how long?
Until really working here. There was a brief period where I was only the wine buyer here before I was sort of selected to be the interim GM. It was so exciting. It felt really good. I'm on it, and I have a medication with me always that'll make a migraine go away. And so I feel like it's a lot more under control than it used to be. It's been really, really fun to be back.
So we're not putting you in physical jeopardy by making you wine taste in this Thunderdome with us. We want it to be 2 wines enter, 1 wine leaves, not like 2
people. Wines enter and 1 leaves in a stretcher.
Yeah, right.
Or has to go to
I think I will be perfectly fine.
Great.
I'm so glad about that. What is the second wine here in the Wine Thunderdome at the Leverett Village Co-op, Ken Washburn?
All right, number 2 is a brand new wine that one of my wine reps brought in and had me try, and I was so crazy about it. It's called La Cuva Rouge de Valais. It's from the Val d'Aosta in northern Italy. Super high altitude. It turns out the Matterhorn, that amazing scenic mountain, is literally in this part of Italy. So there are grapes growing. People are making wine basically in the foothills of the Matterhorn, which I did not know. So this is mostly Nebbiolo. I'm just going to call it Nebbiolo. So the reason I chose this is because it's a Nebbiolo, your classic northern Italian wine, but it's from super north. So again, we have a classic grape, one of Italy's 2 most famous and popular grapes, but it's from sort of an unexpected region. So that's the link.
That's the link. Cool. Pinot Noir, not from Burgundy, but from Languedoc, and Nebbiolo, not from Piemonte. I knew my name was in it, but from farther north, the Matterhorn. That's kind of cool.
It's really cool. And I only learned that yesterday Googling it. I thought the Matterhorn was like 100% Switzerland.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
But, yeah.
The Alps cover a lot of territory. I mean, it's why Switzerland has to be Switzerland.
Yeah. All right,
let's do it.
The other connection, I think, is that Nebbiolo is another one of those grapes that is light in color. Not necessarily as light in color as Pinot Noir, but you oftentimes can see through it as well. This one smells more Italian, which is cherry like the other one, but leather and cherry. That's the difference.
I was going to say like dry cherry, like raisiny.
Yeah.
The other one was so fresh, like almost underripe in a way.
It's a cherry pie, but without the sweet.
I love it.
Oh, that's rich.
I honestly think this is going to be one of my Thanksgiving recommendations.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
The other interesting part of your wine story, Ken Washburn, here at the Leverett Village Co-op, is that we've heard a lot about what you learned about in Berkeley, Portland, and Dallas, but your connection to Western Massachusetts and what brought you back here. You have connections from your youth to the 413.
I do. Not technically the 413, right across the border. So I actually went to boarding school in New Lebanon, New York. So
I thought you were in the Berkshires.
I'm so sorry. If you were talking about a geographical region without borders, I went to boarding school.
They think that they're the Berkshires.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I was keenly aware of Northampton, Greenfield, mostly Northampton. We love to go to Faces on boarding school trips.
God rest Steve Vogel, founder of Faces, who died this week at age 92, and was a friend of mine, and I miss him.
Wow, Faces was such a, it was a real institution. I also was, we spent a lot of time in Great Barrington, etc., and that was always such a pleasure.
It lured you back.
It did. I was staring down the barrel of my 30s, and I realized I did not want to be living in Texas, which I really got out just in time. I was looking everywhere in the valley, Amherst, Northampton. I would have lived anywhere, and the first place I found was Turner's Falls, and I've been in the same apartment for 5 years.
Your pet rats are the delight of our village, and oftentimes the pet of the week in the Montague Reporter, our tiny little village newspaper.
Yes. There's a pet of the week?
I will shout out pet of the week. It's usually adoptable pets. Did not know that when I submitted my rat Wallace to be pet of the week. I thought it was just like...
Did people write in and try to adopt your rats?
No, it was pretty obvious that she had a good home. Okay. And the rats, I wish I could say they're doing well. They're really not.
Oh no! Best wishes to your rats. That's the first time I've wished well to rats.
They're fragile little things.
Yeah. Sometimes we'd see you taking them for walks past the rendezvous. So cute.
Oh, wow, you saw that? That's so funny. I do remember seeing you at the boo one time and you were wearing this really great shirt about dumplings.
Kung Fu dumplings.
What does it say?
It says, I hate dumplings. Just kidding. Can you imagine? Which is the slogan of an actual Chinese food restaurant in P-Town called Kung Fu Dumplings. And I will wear that shirt on Monday when we talk about Chinese food with the acclaimed local author Grace Lin, because we're going to have a big Chinese food episode on Monday.
Yeah, she wrote this book looking at the legends behind the things you eat in Chinese restaurants, and it's really fantastic.
That sounds awesome.
It is really awesome.
It's awesome, except I hate dumplings.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. Can you imagine? It's time to vote here in the Wine Thunderdome, Leverett Village Co-op in beautiful Leverett. Let's vote on these two wines, the Taqueron Pinot Noir from an atypical Pinot Noir spot in the Languedoc in France as opposed to Burgundy, and the Rouge de, I wish I had my reading glasses, de Valais from far northern Italy.
Is literally this.
Not from Piedmont, where the Nebbiolo is most famous from. Anybody want to vote first?
Wow, this is hard. Both of these wines I just find to be so wonderful, especially for the price.
I mean, these both are really good.
Those both are really good. They are also kind of polar opposites. Like, the Italian is much heavier.
Anybody ready to vote?
How do we vote? What's the procedure here?
You just say which one you like. If you had to pick one wine to leave with today, what would that wine be?
Well, I don't because I work here, but let's see. I'm gonna go with the Italian, the Rouge de Valais.
I also vote for the Italian. So no matter what you vote, Khalees.
Well, then I feel better about voting for the Pinot Noir because I want the lightness.
Alrighty.
And again, everyone's a winner with both of these wines.
Seriously, these are both
good.
great.
And everyone's a winner when you come to the Leverett Village Co-op because it's like a little vacation spot in the middle of where you live. I know that the Leverett Co-op, it's struggling to be doing well. Come and hang out here and buy stuff from here or become a member.
I will say something that's very cool about the co-op that not very many people know about is that we have a pouring license. So you can actually have a glass of wine or a can of beer here on the premises.
Oh, wow. That is very rare.
Yes.
How can that happen? And I don't even want to ask questions because I don't want it to stop.
Place in town.
We have pizza nights on Friday, house-made pizza, usually live music, and you can get a glass of wine.
So we have to come back for Pizza Quest, I guess.
I guess so.
Oh, Pizza
We
Quest.
have a whole pizza segment too, Ken.
Well, that sounds exciting. Would love to have you back.
Big thank you to the Leverett Village Co-op for welcoming us there.
It was so harrowing to get there, but it's worth it.
Yeah, not for me so much, but
No,
it was.
but coming from Springfield, some of those roads kind of look not like roads.
Yeah, and being the only game in town for Leverett, I think if you're in the area,
I mean,
you might
for
want
that
to
being the
consider
only game in town,
frequenting it.
they're incredibly lucky to have the selection that they have there.
Yeah.
Like, it is good, and not like just because it's the only game in town. And that's all I'm gonna say.
Here's the big question, Khalees. This week,
Yes.
we've had like a banner week in regards to things that are going on.
I know, so much.
So how do you choose with one human body being in one place at one time?
Well,
which things you're going to do?
Lucky for me, I am a giant nerd, so I have piles of dice, and that was basically how I did it. No, I asked my friends, and like sometimes it's nice to go to concerts with friends because, like, I'm a person who will go by themselves, but like I'm supposed to hang out with people this weekend, and they chose which one we went to, even though there was a lot of stuff on offer.
Should we shamelessly plug where your band will be playing this weekend?
No, because you can't go.
Why?
It's sold out.
What? I was just going to randomly pop by.
So if you happen to be running the half marathon at Treehouse, you can come and see the Soul Magnets. But otherwise, you're a little out of luck because it's sold out.
Dang it. That was going to be my Sunday afternoon plan.
Well, I mean, like, you can probably talk your way into it. I've seen you do this. On more than one occasion.
You're not wrong. Next week on the Fabulous 413, we'll discover the interesting folklore behind your Chinese food favorites with local Newbury and Caldecott honoree Grace Lin. But you know what? Dumplings.
Dumplings are genuinely the best.
No, I don't like them. Just kidding. Can you imagine?
And we'll slip between stanzas with erstwhile Poet Laureate of the United States, Rita Dove, who will be at Shakespeare and Company for the WIT Festival.
We'll go rowing on the Connecticut River with the mayor of Holyoke, Joshua Garcia.
And we're planning on broadcasting live from the Fresh Grass Festival at Mass Mocha in North Adams.
Special thanks to Spouse, Happy Valley Guitar Orchestra, Ethiocolor, John Cleary, the Young at Heart Chorus, Bell and Sebastian, Tina Turner, and this band that you're hearing now, Orchestre Toute Puissante, Marcel Duchamp, as well as our live guests, San Salvador, who are playing tonight at Millpond Live.
It is going to be so good.
Lashana Tova, Rosh Hashanah.